Hello and welcome to Good Morning Enablement. I'm Roger Jennings, and today we'll be talking to Ian Atchison, CEO of Insyntrix, about the use of AI tools and how his company is using them to accelerate creativity. Insyntrix is a full-service digital marketing agency specializing in creating engaging and effective marketing campaigns for business. At Good Morning Enablement, we're all about bringing real enablement insights to you and to your executives, so that you can be informed, updated, and have real information that can be applied immediately to your teams and projects. Before we dive in, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I've worn many hats throughout my career, everything from being a Java programmer to a live stream video editor at HP Software, head of storyline development at ServiceNow, to most recently, director of content design and development at Twilio. At Good Morning Enablement, we help bring insights from thought leaders to share their expertise on topics that matter to you. So let's get to it. Ian, it is great to see you again.
Yeah, thanks, Roger. Really appreciate the invite, and good seeing you. And excited to be on this interview here. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, so for a little bit of context, I first met Ian and worked with him much earlier in both of our careers, where he was VP of Interactive Development at a company called Visual Matter, and also when he was a designer at Lightspeed Interactive. And way back then was when I was first learning how to use Adobe After Effects and Adobe Premiere and Adobe Photoshop. And he was already an expert along the way. So we do go back a little bit in time. I gave a little bit of a background about myself. This was my first interview without the team for Good Morning Enablement. So I wanted to flesh that out. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell the viewers what makes you passionate about the things you're doing at your company, and what's passionate about all of the evolving AI tools that you have access to.
Yeah, so my company, Insyntrix, we're a full service marketing firm. I've been owner of this company since 2002. So I've been doing things for a long time in the multimedia and marketing space. Over the years, of course, there's many things that kind of evolve and change. Everything was big with DVDs, and now everything's digital and streaming on every single device that everyone can possibly imagine, right? So there's a lot of ways, to connect and engage with people, I think, than there used to be in the early days, where everything was either print or maybe on a CD-ROM, and then the internet, very, very limited in terms of what you can produce. What's exciting now with AI tools, one of the things I'm passionate about is how the brand story for a company can come across in all these different mediums, right? So there's a lot of things that are evolving quickly with the tools, of course. Thanks to AI, I'm sure if we have this same interview a year from now, it might be a little bit different, right?
Yeah. Yep.
You kind of have to, plant your feet and kind of go with what you got, right? It's just like buying maybe a new camera, right?
Right.
It's going to be outdated in a year, but you got to get something, going. And so you buy the best that you can and kind of go from there. And I think that's what AI tools are kind of showing us, right? And I think some of the premier, I guess, developers in the space have really put out some really cool tools for marketers like ourselves to get things across in very unusually cool ways that weren't there before.
Sure. So I think we all at this point are using some sort of AI in our day-to-day workflows. And I'm a creative person, as are you, but I've been using AI to, I use it to accelerate my creativity by eliminating redundant or procedural tasks that take me a long time. When I'm working with a client, there's often a lot of, take this from this Excel sheet, do a video edit, and then move this information over to another Excel sheet. So there's a little bit of the old school at the new school going on. And by using it to take all of that manual labor away from me, I can focus more on being creative. Now, watching your LinkedIn posts and seeing the things you've shared with me, you're more on the other end where you're working with a creative team and augmenting that and making the creativity more creative, if that's something we can say. So I'd like to know a little bit more about what tools and technologies your team is using and how they're using them.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So we're using a variety of image-based AI tools. And I would say probably the best one that that's our favorite right now is probably Mid-Journey. And so that's allowing, with a prompt, much like ChatGPT, it, generates an image. And what's really cool about it is, you can change the aspect ratio of the images, and really the sky's the limit, as I'm sure people are starting to see what you can do with it. But what's nice is with Mid-Journey, you can start creating new profiles. So for instance, like more of a brand profile for a company. So you can upload images, create a profile. And so if all your stuff is blue and modern, and you can basically upload your own little mood board to train it. And then now when I ask it things, it's going to put it in that visual space for me. This is really, pretty new. I'm sure a lot of firms and creators are going to be, taking advantage of that for companies and for brands. So that's one of the big ones I see. We also use tools like Luma for creating video from that still image. So it allows you to take, a pretty cool image and it'll generate a small video from that, just magically, basically. And so we've been getting some cool results for that. And then there's some other image generators like Image Art, and the other one is Magnific, which is pretty cool. Also, Magnific does like image scaling. So one of the limits I would say for a lot of companies, especially corporate, is, you have digital everything, but when you need something done in print, the resolution's not high enough. You got vector images, which allow you to scale it anyway, right? And then, like a JPEG, you're limited at the resolution of that. But now with an image upscaler, you can get like a regular sort of normal HD size. You can start going into like 4K or larger, and it fills in those pixel gaps using an AI technology for the sharpness and the resolution. So in one example, we had a client that is in the safety space, like for mine sites, construction sites, things like that. And they do safety training, and they have a product for cookies. They sell like safety cookies to remind teams, like safety first and things like that. So they actually put little, emblems and everything. And it's just kind of a fun thing that they do. But they have a trade show, that was coming up, and they need a new signs and things for that. They don't have any images of their product with people in construction on a job site or anything like that.
Right.
That'd be a fairly expensive shoot. And you're dealing with prints. So they need like banners, which are very large. So what we're able to do with AI is take, a concept that they had of like people holding a tray of their cookies. Okay. And then putting it in, can they wear a hard hat, or can it not be green? Can it be yellow? And so we have these controls with the AI, and then, generated several images pretty quickly and allowed the client to choose, what kind of, diverse crowd or what kind of look the people were and things like that, what kind of gear they were kind of wearing quickly,
Right.
while they're holding this tray of cookies. And then we're able to kind of Photoshop a little bit after that, get their products in there a little bit more tight and precisely. Then we took it into the image upsizer to make it big, so it'd be print res for a banner. Okay, so
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I do photography, and I've been on shoots, and you save literally thousands of dollars with that when you would take into account all the people whose time would be taken away to stand for the shoot, and gear and all that stuff. That's really cool.
yeah, no, it's something like that would just be very expensive to
Yeah,
do, and like to schedule that, right, and get the
right.
right
And for a
people
one-off
there, like
project,
you look in weeks, right? So then this idea that might be a good idea that the sales team has, or VP of marketing has, right? Like, oh yeah, we should do that. That'd be great. Oh, we can't get it scheduled, so it just dies. Everything sort of dies in the land of corporate quickly, right? But now with AI tools, like maybe it doesn't die so quick, right? Maybe this idea can get done, which is some scary pressure for creative teams out there, because now I think a lot of, corporate executives right around are going to start going, oh, well, just AI. So I think it'll be interesting as these tools develop and things get outputted, like what the expectations are now for
right.
creatives.
AI is new and still new enough, but I think it's now old enough that people are realizing that it just doesn't work that way. And I've been using Google Gemini, and just like in ChatGPT, there's a note at the bottom, this could be wrong. Please double check your work. and I was running some queries yesterday and they were wrong. And I said, this is wrong.
Yeah.
You mentioned I don't think you used the word persona. That's one of my words, but I think you mentioned building the persona or letting the AI know what your brand is so that you can get things generated more correctly. I'm stumbling trying to remember what you said.
Yeah. Like a brand persona maybe, or,
So
yeah, like,
so along those lines, what do you do to ensure that the AI generated content maintains originality, creativity, and is in the brand voice?
yeah, I think with the images, like there's different, you could definitely say different styles, right? That any brand might have. And a lot of times, when working with companies, they would put together sort of a stock library of photos, right? They would curate or, go to Getty Images and find the right images. And those images might have a look. Maybe it's a little bit warmer with like browns and reds and oranges, right? And then they pick a series of pictures that kind of has that vibe to it, right? Or maybe it's a tech company, and so they're picking lots of blues and greens and kind of high tech purple colors and things, right? And so by, you know, training the AI for that persona and saying like, oh no, we want these blues and greens and purples in our imagery, and we want it shot with a Nikon lens with this aperture,
Right.
and we want in the style of Christopher Nolan and Transformers, right? Like the AI can pick up on what you're trying to accomplish. Basically, you're like, oh yeah, not quite this, but this one's close. Let me iterate again, and then you just get these, get it pretty close, and then now you have an image, and now you can re-upload that even back right into your model, right, that you're
Right.
building.
Right.
So once you get a few images that are close, then it just keeps building, and you can get, more and more accurate with kind of that look that you're after. We've been experimenting with different things. I know like a lot of like fashion brands or just, like consumer brands kind of have that like, just kind of that selfie kind of style, or just kind of looks like like a Polaroid, so it's kind of like grungy. I don't know, not quite grungy, but, it's kind of the weird lighting, and kind of looks like a bunch of kids might have took it, on the backside of their backyard or something, right?
I'm starting to laugh because I'm thinking I see a lot of fashion stuff and other marketing stuff that looks just so amateur. So they're clearly speaking to a different segment, the audience than me. But it's like, wow, you need to have a persona, poorly lit and framed, and
Right.
how to
Like
focus.
single flash camera, right? And so these are the things you can add in to your prompts, right? And get
Uh-huh.
that kind of look, right? Like a single
Right.
hard light flash that's on the photo. And then what's amazing is the AI can actually kind of pull this off, right? And so you might have to iterate and tweak it a little bit, but that would have been like crazy to like, just these pristinely clean AI images. And now I could say like, oh yeah, this young woman should have kind of messed up tousled hair and, not looking at the camera. Like you can be very detailed in these prompts and kind of create this like, spontaneous image like a bunch of kids might on their phone, on their iPhones or something, right? And so, yeah, that's a lot of fun. And I think, from a creative perspective and being, kind of creative and being around for a while, a lot of times, you have this creative idea, but it would take hours, a week to like try to Photoshop this concept to even present to a client, right? And so I think the agency model is definitely shifting into what should be done with teams and time and how much that should be built and all these things, because normally you would have like kind of a small team to try to all these concepts out and present a big pitch and do these different things. But now you can iterate so fast that that's really unnecessary. In fact, it might be a waste of time. It's better to maybe show you, 10 concepts and then talk about them in a constructive kind of way. And
Right.
so because the process is just that much faster, right? And I think especially people that have a little bit more on the development side of the fence on the creative universe, right? They're used to this iterative process, right? Even like on the video side, you can edit it, right? And so you shoot a bunch of stuff and you can re-edit it. But now with like, web and, digital campaigns, A/B testing
Mm-hmm.
is wide open and actually sort of
Yes.
useful now, right? You could really test two campaign strategies, for us, so if someone's having a pretty significant sales debate on, what kind of headline or what kind of vibe, you're wanting to go with. You could do two campaigns that, are similar in voice and style, but maybe alter, a little bit in terms of the visual approach, and what normally would take, many more hours to develop a secondary campaign, much less time, right? I don't want to quite say half the time, but almost, right? Uh,
Well, if it's
much
not,
faster.
it'll be half in a year. Along the lines of what we're talking about, I wanted to ask you how you see the role of human creativity evolving in this AI powered world. You were talking
This,
about
yeah, this
cognitive
last,
iterations reducing and things that would take weeks to illustrate, maybe taking moments. Where do you see it going?
yeah, it's interesting when all the tools started first coming out, right? I was excited like everybody else. And I even was reaching out to our clients. I'm like, hey, we can build AI images. Like, I don't know if you're okay with that, but, look at this cool thing we can do for you now. I'm expecting like all this, like, oh, wow, that's really cool. And this is great. And I guess I really like, not a lot of people were that excited, like not as excited as me about it. They were more like, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. I think from the client's perspective, right? People are so used to seeing like, movies get made and like, they just expect Iron Man to blast the hole through the wall and it look real, right? And
Right.
so now, like, they just sort of expect these things to be the case, and they don't really care how the tools work, right? They just want that result, which is fair, right? And so I think the human part of the tools is that initial creative idea. Is this the right kind of headline? Like, does this sound fake, or is there too many words that no one really uses as a human? You kind of pick up
Exactly.
on that kind of stuff. So even like, if you ask, like a Claude or a Chat GPT or something like that, create some cool headlines for your social media campaign. It still takes a human, to kind of put a stamp of approval on it. That takes time. It's much, much faster, right, than it was before, writing everything from scratch, maybe. But I think, so in other words, I think the humans still have to drive that human interaction between another human, right? There's still that client customer relationship.
Absolutely.
And there has to be that overarching, do we get your brand? Do we understand your sales objectives? Who's your real target audience? Who are your top 10 customers and how do they think? What are they all about? And AI isn't quite there yet. Like, although one of the ways, you can definitely do it. You can say like, oh yeah, using, I'm, my target audience is a soccer mom in her mid-30s, from Alabama, and she's blonde, and I can give the full description of who our target audience is, and it does a pretty good job of getting you pretty close, right? And so I think in terms of generating ideas and executing on those, but AI isn't going to come up with that on its own, right?
No,
Like, not just magically spit things out. And then are you really going to trust it? Do you want to bank millions of dollars in people's jobs and livelihoods on some automated AI task subroutine that's just generating content and posting it to social media without your knowledge, or
right.
generating a video without your knowledge, right? I don't
Right.
think so.
There's ethical considerations that you need to be mindful of. And I've played around with it on, to generate some creative ideas. And then I'm wondering, well, how do I know that this isn't just, directly lifted from someplace? How do I know how original it is? So that's something that I play music, is, now the audience knows. And I'm like, oh man, I'd like to have some lyrics to write some music to. And I asked Gemini to come up with something that was great. And then I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, it's so great, but how original is it?
Right. Well, yeah. And like, now, like, they can, synthesize voices,
Yep,
right? So
absolutely.
now, you can train AIs, or you can choose AI voices,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll sing
Some
your
of them are
lyrics for
sounding
you.
real.
Right.
A year ago, it's like, to me, fingernails on the chalkboard, but now some of them sound
It's pretty
really
close.
real.
Yeah. You could definitely do, like, if you wanted to do like a background vocal track or something like that, where you needed an extra voice to kind of chime in. I would say it's very doable. It is interesting, speaking of ethical, like, I'm old enough to remember the old Milli Vanilli days, right? And,
Yeah,
basically, like, a fake voice that was a real person, right, was doing the songs, but it was, faked out for the rest of the world, right? So now they're already doing like these fake AI influencers, right? And they got, you know, hundreds of thousands of views, and they're fake people, right? And so when is it going to be like fake music and that's okay with this generation? I don't,
Yeah, who
I don't
knows?
know. There's
Who
a
knows?
lot going on, right? And so a lot of ethical questions, I think. And, I think the whole copyright thing is like troublesome at best, right? Like what's really annoying for me personally is we'll generate an AI image, put it into Photoshop, save it out, with some, logo or some text and everything, and post it up to social media. And like if we put it in like LinkedIn, well, LinkedIn has a special like recognizing, tool that recognizes the AI content, and it puts this little icon up in the corner,
Mhm.
and it blocks our copy or our logo that we put there. And I'm like, why is it that's super annoying. And how would I know that? Or how would the
Yeah,
client know that? Right.
yeah,
All for the guise of safety and telling people this is an AI generated image. Is it really going to be necessary? Maybe a year from now, I don't think people are going to care.
I
I
don't
think they're
know.
just going to keep moving.
I'll argue with you on that one in a year, so I'll have to come back
Good.
and see
Yeah.
how it goes. Anyways, this has been great. And I have one last question I want to put out there to you before we sign off. And really, it's what advice would you have to other content creators or creative professionals who are looking to incorporate AI into their workflows?
Yeah. I would say that for me personally, good old Twitter has been very helpful. And so if someone's looking to get into these tools or into the space, there's a lot of creators posting out some really good, helpful content, tips and tricks, picked up on, like, oh, wow, somebody could do that. Wow. You might see an idea and then reapply it to
Yep.
a different genre of a business, right? So you might see something that looks very, sci-fi, but maybe I can apply that same thing to an anime style or a children's coloring book style or, whatever, right? And so I think the collaboration of ideas is really accelerating, and the tools are getting faster and new updates are released all the time. And so that we've been able to learn quite a bit just by following, other people and having them follow us and all that good stuff, and learning that way. There's not really a book, right, on AI. And as soon as you wrote it, it would probably be, sort of
Probably
useless,
be out of
right?
date.
Like it's changing that quickly. I think for good and bad, it's probably the social media channels and things that you're going to learn the most from. That'd be my advice. And then, it's very, what do you want to say? It's very forgiving, right? Where before, if I had an idea and I wanted approval from my boss or I wanted to prove, maybe my art director came at me with an idea. And he's like, oh yeah, I got this idea for this and this and this. I'm like, well, okay, how long is it going to take you? Oh, I'm taking me about 6 hours to do it. I'm like, well, there's not enough billable hours for that. Like, maybe just do your 2-hour idea instead of the 6-hour one, right? And now, like, you could do 10 ideas in 6 hours, right? Like, uh, so it's very forgiving, and it's a great time to be a creative person, I would say, in today's age. And for sales teams and marketing teams, I would really encourage you to sort of push the envelope with your designers. And if you feel like you're not getting those kind of results, challenge a little bit, work with teams that you like, that can kind of match your speed and creativity. Yeah, I would say that's my best advice.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, Ian, for joining us today. And I'd like to thank everyone out in the world watching Good Morning Enablement. If you have any questions for Ian or myself, please post them in the comments below. Please remember to like and share this video. And if you have any ideas for topics you'd like us to cover in the future, put them in the comments. And we'll see you soon. Thank you, Ian.
Thanks, Roger. Appreciate it.
Bye.